You can make a difference, whether you're a track owner, a fan, a race car driver, a sponsor. Like, you have a part in this huge world that we have.
Ladies and gentlemen, you wanted it, you got it. The place for the untold, real, raw, and juicy stories of dirt track racing. It's Dirt Track Confessions. And now here's your host, Mandee Pauch Mahaney.
Here we go. Now we're good.
How's the fizz? Do you like it?
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. You split it between the two of us, so we're good. Hey, there you go.
Are we in? We're in business? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dirt Track Confessions. If you are watching, welcome to our new podcast room. Worked hard on this.
Yes, we are straight to the penthouse here.
We're moving up. We got our own fireplace.
It's a fireplace.
We've got Jeff, so Keith Bokett's brother. He made this incredible table for us, specifically for this podcast. And unfortunately, we lost Jeff two months ago.
About 3 months ago, unfortunately, this time. This was a neat opportunity. He always come up with some really neat ideas.
Hand painted, man. He
hand painted this.
Very artistic.
Very, very impressive.
Yes.
This is definitely something that I am not that classic to do.
But I'm grateful that Jeff finished this and got it to us, and we were able to present it to you guys. So I know he's watching over us, and he's loving this because that's all he wanted was to give us this table. So thank you, Jeff. So Billy and I were kind of discussing some ideas, like what can we talk about podcast-wise, and I mean, now is a really solid time to be talking about like working together to make our sport better.
Agreed.
Especially like, okay, it's the off season, but okay, there really isn't an off season, but now is the time to evaluate this past season and see how we can move forward and improve.
So it's all about seeing. This conversation came up, right? So I was talking to some people, and they're like, rain outs change, right? People complain when places rain out and stuff, but your hourly apps make you not want to do something. And then even if it's an overcast day, promoters can lose money.
Oh, yeah.
If they open their doors, doesn't mean they're making money. Mm-hmm. So they got to figure out what makes sense and what not. I guess that's kind of a hot topic this year because we literally got destroyed with rainouts this year, like 25 rainouts or something like that. Was insane. So as the world evolves, the racing evolves, I think it comes back to we also need to look at each other, right, and say, okay, how do we make its best work for everything, right? So there's a big split right now, and kind of a hot topic. We're on sprint cars, right? Mm-hmm. High limit racing versus World of Outlaw. So they're out there trying to, the rumblings is they're trying to outdo each other, right, instead of working together. So is it going to help or hurt us? The money's there, but can the money be sustained, right? I heard a fact the other day. It was like one.
Do I fact check you on this?
Well, yeah. So her next guests are coming down there. Actually, Brett Theo told me this one. There was 1 million minutes viewed on Flow of dirt modified short track racing.
Like altogether
by individuals. So that was pretty impressive.
It
sounded like a heck of a number.
Yeah.
Which is great. But how do we derive that to make sure that people are coming in the stands, right? So the Flow contracts are great. The Dirt Vision are great. We're not going to get into the dollars and cents because really, so that's not our place. People got to stay in business. But they also, when you bring a series in, you also need to put in people in the stands because that Flow, that Dirt Vision, that also hurts your crowd, especially on weather specific. Weather and weekday racing is what does you in.
Well, I remember when we were at World Finals, I was chatting up with Brian Carter, who's one of the COs, co-owners of World Racing Group, who World of Outlaws, Super Dirt Car Series, and the weather was kind of iffy, because it was like sunny. I think it was warm in the beginning of the week, and then it got really cold, and chance of rain, all this stuff. And so I'm talking to him, I'm like, yeah, but overcast is like mint racing, like that is perfect. And he's like, yeah, but fans want sunshine and warmth. And I'm like, okay, so there's the catch-22. You're always battling the weather, but like you were kind of pointing out, is it sucks so bad. Is I know for the rest of my life, is as long as the Freedom 76er and the Fonda 200 are on the same damn weekend, like I have to choose.
Well, yeah. So it's overbooking each other, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so many conversations in cars, right? And what makes sense. You know, you get a rain out, they book against each other, they do this.
They try not
to.
Try
right?
Not
the big races is what we're really talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the logic, you know, I've heard from a lot of little guys, right? They dodge competition. You know, this one's going to show up, that one's going to show up, right? I don't know about this year. I wasn't as fast as I'd like to be, but for a couple of years, they're like, oh, we go here because you're not going to be there. And I'm like, really?
Good to know.
Now it's more like, you know, Matt Shepard's going to be there. I'm not going because then I'm shot to win. And, you know, you always think you could beat everyone. That doesn't come into your plays, but sometimes you got to think about it. So overall, you're just trying to make things work that make sense, right? The biggest thing I learned this year is you can have friends in racing. You can all be together to make this sport successful. But at the end of the day, it's most for people, it's a hobby, but it's also, you got to stay in business. It is a small business, right?
Yep.
You know how many people go, well, why don't you go to I'm just going to use these races, and they're both great races. Let's say the Fonda 200 over the Freedom 76er, right? I don't have motel rooms. I have 1 day show where I burn 3 tires up. Yes, the purse mid-pack is not near good enough what it needs to be.
And the redraw
is 27. So, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And Fonda pays a lot better, right?
Yeah,
it does pay better through the pack. Mm-hmm. But you have your motel bills for 2 days. You have 8 tires.
More than, because I think Fonda now, don't they practice on Thursdays?
Yeah, so it'll be Thursday and Friday
3
night.
days.
3 days there.
3 days.
But you got to look at what makes sense, and that's where I think they're working together. I'm hearing a lot more people collaborating than I've heard in years past, which is really great to hear. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that leads to better things.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what one can only hope. You know, each track wants to be better than the other track and flourish, but we all have to work together. And we just keep using the Freedom 76 and the Fonda 200 because for years it's just been that date. Like the Freedom 76 has been that date for longer than I've been around. So that date is that track. And World Finals, that date is the first weekend in November. So there are tracks that like it's a dead set date. And if you're willing to toss a coin and hope that you get people to show up, like that's great. But at the same time, it would just be nice if we could just work on our schedules, collaborate together, don't put rain dates on top of each other. I mean, this I think was the second year modified wise, the Super Dirt Car Series and the Short Track Super Series.
Short Track Super Series, we're working together.
Mouthful. We're working together.
Yes. No, I think that's really a key to it, right? Mm-hmm. Old school versus new school, right? So there's not many people that love this sport as much as I do. Full disclosure. I mean, my wife will tell you that too. So, but I also look forward to a Saturday night off once a month.
Amen. Yes.
I was reading an article the other day on a track that came out. I was like, we're going to run every Saturday night, just give one off for this and that, even with midweek shows. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that, right? Like, we're going to start in February. We're going to kick back up here March 9th, and we're going to run through the first week of November. Mm-hmm. I'd like a weekend off, right? Yeah. There's a lot of things, and this might be another topic, actually, which you should really reach out to. It would actually be really good if you could get Jacob Allen on here. He stepped off the World of Outlaw tour.
I want to, absolutely.
Just for mental health, you know what I mean? And that kind of derives into what you say here, is where we need to work. We started off with tracks, but it's all kind of also getting a little feed for the racers, man. What makes sense too.
Well, if you think about it, I always tell people, we are the entertainment. And I always say I always categorize myself as a driver, but we are the entertainment. And any sport, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, they are practicing every day 24/7. Not 24/7, but every single day they're putting hours in. And but the thing is too is eventually they get burnout.
Yeah.
However, what is how old do athletes retire typically?
Probably about my age.
Yeah.
So I actually had this conversation the other day, and I'm not going to go on record of it, right? So I started at 15. So I'm going on 20 years. And I actually said 25, I'm really thinking about going back to being just like a Saturday night Louie. And there's nothing wrong with this, right? I don't want to call it a Louie. I just want to call it a Saturday night driver, right? Where I don't chase everything up and down the world. It's really great. I'm fortunate we can do it, but it puts a toll on you, right?
Yeah.
Like it's mental stability. That's why I'm doing it right now while I can. But there's also a point in your life where you look around and say, okay, did I miss anything else, right? Like we love the sport. We absolutely adore it. Doesn't mean we're getting out of it. Just means we might change our direction a little bit.
Yeah.
You hope there's youth behind you to keep it going, but you just don't know, right? But that's the whole key, right? As I said, it's just making everything make sense for everybody and existence, and not getting upset at people when they might not make the decision you want is key, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at public relations is a huge thing, but I'm also trying not to put negative public relations on people that don't really deserve it, right? Like, so if there's moves I make that are vetted, but I don't want that other person to be beat up, sometimes I just don't post it. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I still really like that person. Doesn't mean I don't like them. It just means it's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
And business decisions are the way it goes. But that doesn't mean that person can't be your best friend.
No.
You just don't go down that road so people can beat it. And that's the change in the philosophy of it, right?
I feel like that actually brings to one of my points is like as a fan, as a driver, you can be such a valid like avenue and a promoter for our sport, for your local racetrack, for the events. Like you're saying, like I know it's so much easier said than done, but instead of posting negativity and like pushing people away, like maybe you have 400 friends on Facebook or 1,000 or 10,000 friends on Facebook. Like if you can just say like, hey, reshare, I don't know, Bridgeport Speedway's post that actually I think it's just saw Action Track already announced their opening day. Like, I mean, it's far in advance.
Yeah, but you like share
it, promote it, because you have a market of people you can tap into for our racing world to promote. So like you can be a positive influence in our sport more than you know.
Yeah. And then that's the key, right? So the conversations down the road and whatnot, but people look at stuff, right? So social media is what it is. I don't want to get into social media. We really got into a different topic here, right?
Yeah.
But they do look at how much your post is shared, how much is done, how much is out there.
People are watching.
People are watching, right? Like we kind of built it to a presence, right? Like, so I posted something the other day and it was like 110,000 people viewed it, right? Like, which is wild to me. It's that aspect of what makes sense. But we also need to make sure we're doing the right thing. So you try to tag in the series, you try to tag in your sponsors, you try to do what's right for what's in that world.
Yeah. So another thing, you kind of were, you're like walking around it for me earlier, is the live streaming. Now I know, listen, I am all for every live streaming platform out there. However, like in the perfect Mandee world is we have one main live streaming platform. Because I don't know if you were there for this conversation, but at Wall the other weekend, we're at Wall Stadium for the Turkey Derby, and we had someone walk up to us, and I mean, they're in the asphalt world. They have they have connections in dirt, but like no one to really need to keep up with. And he's like, yeah, I love that modifieds are on flow because he's already on flow and he's there watching like the asphalt modifieds, and it helps put our tiny little niche of modifieds on a bigger picture. And it really helps us tap into more fans because like there's already fans, but I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with this one because I'm grateful for every platform we have. It's
a tough conversation, right?
Yes.
Like, going into 2024, I don't even know what the year is. You got to look at this stuff, right? So that was one of the conversations I had when you're considering where you're going, right? Like, is there a live stream? Flow obviously comes to mind, Dirt Vision, Dirt Track Digest, but Flow, whatever is the dominant conversation, right?
Yeah.
So that weighs in on my decision because if someone can't come watch me race, they can watch me on Flow.
Yeah.
Yes, it hurts the track, but it helps me. So where do you draw a line, right? I think it's a mixed match of both. I think everything kind of flows together and what makes sense. We've got to do what's right for us and they got to do what's right for them to be successful what it is.
Now, I know I did a podcast way earlier this year and I explained how each different platform, the tracks make different commission and rates, right? So like I know some are better for the track to make money versus another one, if that makes sense. However, I'm now thinking, well, I understand the money concept 1,000%. Like, we can't survive without the money. We can't race without the money. But they need to start thinking about how they can tap into more people than just our modified world.
Yes. So we lack of personalities, lack, again, people involved. I mean, we're trying, right? Like, we're doing really good, but our show's got to be run better, right? I mean, when we went to a track this past week, and not knocking on I'll go back again, but it was a 7-hour show. You don't want to see something in 7 hours. You went 3 hours. Yeah. So what they do on a Saturday night, I love, right? They qualify at 5:30 time trial. They take a 6 to 7 break. You can do that. 7 o'clock, feature start. So if you're at the beach, you can go there. You race, you're done at 9:30.
Yeah.
That to me is the existence of what it is. It is a short attention span. If anybody knows me, I have really, really short attention span.
Yeah.
I get aggravated and get mad really fast. Not with that. You don't ever see that. But I meant like just watching stuff. So figuring out how to run something efficient with working together to make sure that we don't have to make decisions that aren't right.
Yeah. I mean, you go to, it's different because you have some races where they have like 20 divisions and it's like, are you kidding me? We're going to be here forever. And we're like 3 hours away from home.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have the tracks that, well, we got to do track prep and sell hot dogs.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but people are just there to be entertained. At the end of the day, they're there to be entertained. They don't need to sit and watch the grader go around the track. Like, get your shit together.
Exactly. What Mandee said, right? So we're there to be entertained and enjoy and try to make sure everything's efficiently right, right? If I'm going to drive 6 hours round trip to see a race, I want to see a good dang race.
Yeah.
It's the whole key.
So what I really liked, and I actually got in the conversation with Mike about this last night, is you would probably remember more than me. It's been a while. But it sparked my interest again was, okay, how can tracks be open to conversation with their fans and their drivers and their employees? Like, you know, this is all about working better together. What I always loved wasn't it like once a year in the winter, New Egypt used to have like a one night everyone comes to like the firehouse or something.
Yeah.
Because Mike Bruno, who just is taking over Airborne, running it next year, a few weeks ago, he had a meeting. Everyone was welcome, from fans to owners to drivers. And I mean, he had it all mapped out, but it was genius because he wanted everyone's opinions and like working together. Like, where do you feel we needed to improve? This is what we're going to do. We're going to try this, see how it goes. And, you know, of course, you're going to get feedback that you're not going to want. But like, I wasn't there. This was Mike's conversation. He was like, you know, this is the list, and then wait until I'm done talking, and then if you have something, raise your hand or something. Like, if tracks could do that in the off season and allow their locals and their people that have something to say, or is there, this is what I really want to ask Brett Deo, is like, is there a place where people, not just fans, but drivers, can submit like opinions or suggestions that maybe the regular eye might not be seeing?
That's not a bad thought. You don't want to see some of the suggestions or things you get. So, yeah, you got advice, right? You're not going to take everyone's advice. Everyone's going to be mad. Everyone's going to go this, you know. From the inner rumblings, it sounds like Frenchtown might not be opening. I'm pretty certain, actually, from the sounds of it, from the locals, right? So there's a track that's got all the history. They tried to change, but didn't figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They tried a lot.
They tried a lot of stuff. Give them an A for credit. But at the end of the day, there's two things you need, right? You need a good surface and an efficient show.
Yeah.
Key to everything. You can put $1 million on something, but you can't charge $75 to come in. People won't come out.
No.
It's just the nature of it. So the world is about learning from your mistakes and learning from what happened. So hopefully, excuse me, as I kind of go through, you can pick up what people made mistakes on and try to proceed and make things better. Yeah,
because like I told you, we discussed it when I got back, I loved was the World Racing Group. They sat down with their, you know, their Platinum Super Dirt Car Series drivers and listened to them, literally listened to them, and was like, what do you think we should improve? This is what we're going to do. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that racetrack? Like, that is what we need. We need to collaborate and come together. And listen, you don't have to take everyone's advice. You're not going to be able to please them all, but you have to try something, because you can be stubborn-headed as much as you want, and your track can close down tomorrow.
Gotta be open communication, right?
Yeah.
Like, this conversation this morning, right? So I'll put it out there, but I'm going to do Volusia this year, right? So I just felt, whether I needed to or not, I felt like I called the promoter of the Short Track Super Series and I said, hey, I said, this is not knocking you. This is just a bucket list thing, right? Like, it doesn't mean I don't support dirt car for that. I just can't do 2 weeks in Florida, full disclosure. So I had to pick one this year. It's not knocking you, just something I've always wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, no, I get it. I was like, it's respectful, like, right? I said, I'm not knocking you not to support you. It's because I'm doing it because it's something we've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
It might not ever come down again that we can do this. So let's do this now while we can.
Yeah. So quickly going back to, taking people's opinions. So this has happened to me, I think, twice. It's been a while. But, instead of, it's so easy, especially, I hate even talking about social media sometimes. It's so easy with social media to just, like you said, post your opinion about someone, something that happened. Everyone wants to give their opinion nowadays. But if there was an avenue, an outlet for people to submit, whatever it is they want to say.
Yeah,
instead of putting your dirty laundry out into the atmosphere of social media, like what happened to me was, I'm trying to think of two instances. One, it was a few years ago, I tweeted, and this is when I'm like, no one sees my tweets, right? I tweeted saying something of the lines of like, it's really frustrating how in the grandstands, some tracks don't have a smoking section, right? Like, I'm not going to dive into it, but like I was frustrated because I'm with my nephew at a racetrack and there's a guy in front of me smoking and everyone's like, oh, you can move. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is, but should I have just gone to like the promoter or the track owner and said like, listen, like this is how I feel, take it or leave it, but I posted it and then I got shit back from the track. Okay, well, lesson learned, right?
Yep.
And then the other one was I tweeted and I complained about charging kids full price in the pits. Now this is like in states where you can take like infants that can't even watch the race in the pits. And I tweeted about it and it was so funny because I think it was like months later, I went to apply to get credentials and I got denied. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. And I called and I finally got a hold of someone and they're like, yeah, we really didn't like that tweet you did a couple months ago. I'm like, shit. So it came back on me.
It comes back and haunts you, right?
But like we all have an opinion, right or wrong, but to prevent people like me and other people, like if I can do it, other people will
Other
do
people
it.
can, right? I mean, you're in a different thing, right? Like you got a lot of followers, a lot of this, a lot of people eyes on it, right?
But there's a more respectful
respectful way to do it, right? You got to figure out what's right to do and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Now, full disclosure, she obviously, she's the younger of the two. She wasn't around for smoking sections back in the early 90s when her dad smoked, so she missed that part of it. That's why I don't complain, because it does not smell like the old smoking sections for those that remember those. So, but it's just working together, making things work.
Because that's how. The businesses and the tracks that die are the ones that, I don't want to say they didn't try, but they weren't open for improving.
Touche.
They weren't open to suggestions. And so be open to suggestions. Know that you can make a difference, whether you're a track owner, a fan, a race car driver, a sponsor, like you have a part in this huge world that we have. Why are you smiling?
I'm just laughing. No, it's all good. She's right. She's 100% right. You make a character. Do it right. Try to work together. Try to make things right. Right or wrong. I think Mandy's very smart with this part of it, and she learned from some of the lessons that she said over the years.
Yeah,
so
that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening in. I hope you enjoy this. Please listen, like it, share it on your social medias. Send it to your racetracks. Send it to whomever you know that you're like, you know what, you need to listen to this, and we need to start making changes. So thank you. And thank you, Billy, for hopping on.
Well, thank you very much. I am Billy Pauch without the hyphenate in here. I was thinking the other day.
I don't have the hyphen.
Going to get really on there.
I have a space. What?
So doesn't thing come, why do you say Mandee Pauch Mahaney? Why is it Mahaney Pauch? Because it's M before P.
It's your maiden name first.
Okay, because I was thinking about that the other day.
It'd be like if
A, B,
if
C,
Michelle,
D, you usually go this way, right?
Yes.
Okay, so.
But if Michelle got married, Well, she did.
Yeah, she did. I was going to say, Jesus Christ.
It wouldn't be Pauch Dysart. It's my first name, and then it's like,
okay, because that makes no sense in the alphabetical scheme. Okay, there's my answer to that. But I am Billy Pauch without a hyphen A, and this is Dirt Track Conventions. And I'm
this
is
why guys don't change their last names. So, thank you.
Have a great day.